Have you seen these weird accounts that are saying they will do one thing for each follower that they have? It's an interesting way to get hype and to boost an account. I've seen a person who says for every new follower, I'll put a sticker in my car until it's fully covered with stickers. Then every day he's showing how many new people are following and then putting on the stickers. Or another guy is drawing little dots, and then for every new follower, he's making some piece of artwork little by little. And it's an interesting mechanic because these accounts, they make you feel that you can control the person. They give a bit of a reaction, a cause and effect. You are having a tiny bit of influence into what happens as a follower. So they are incentivizing, very incentivizing for people to follow, to be part of this. Now here's an account that just popped up in my feed, and I found it both troubling and confusing, but also brilliant. It has the simple name Fork versus Wall. So someone has a fork they think we eat with, yeah? And he's saying he's going to be scratching a wall for every new follower until he gets on the other side. Now, this is instantly a hook. I saw this when the account was 3 days old, and it literally went from 10 followers on one day to 1,000 followers the next day to 300,000 followers on the day after. Because it's a funny thing, and people want to have this guy suffer, because the more people follow, the more he needs to be scratching that wall to an amount that it's almost humanly impossible. And this is how a lot of these accounts work. Also the dude who's putting stickers in his car, I mean, eventually he wants enough people to follow him so the whole car is full of stickers, and then he looks like a moron. It's a little bit of a self-deprecating, help me push me down the rabbit hole. That's what you tell to your followers. I could make an account that says, I don't know, I pinch myself each day for each follower, and then keep pinching myself. It's an extreme example, but this is more or less what's happening. But back to this account, Fork versus Wall. What a simple and absolutely brilliant idea, because imagine getting a new sticker for every new follower. That's a lot of stickers. That takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of effort. But this guy, he has the fork right there on the wall, and he can just, scratch up and down. He can do 1,000 scratches every 3 minutes or something. He can be very effective. Little effort. You don't even need to leave the house. And yes, you do destroy one wall, but we don't even know if that wall is part of the house. The frame doesn't show you what's there. It's only a wall that slowly gets a hole because that guy is scratching thousands of times. And people wanted to punish him, right, by following like 3,100 people, and they're like, how? Let's see you do that now. And then he needs to do it and make a time lapse. At the same time, this account, I was amazed because in 3 days, getting 300,000 followers is an impressive feat, no matter what. It's something that should be checked or studied or like follow the thought process. Immediately, he made a backup account in case the main one goes down. And he wrote, for any promotions, DM me. And on the third day, he was promoting all sorts of shit, from marketing companies to betting casinos and to all of that. And of course, I don't know if that account will keep on going for more than a couple of weeks. But it is very impressive, this little hook that he created, how easily gets something to become viral. Now, if I look on my Instagram and I write Fork versus Wall, I can literally see about 50 accounts that have done this. And the guy's still there. He has 500,000 people by now. And I just checked in his stories. He's promoting a marketing company and asking if he should or she create merch and all sorts of things. So this is your social media inspiration for the day. And let's get this podcast started. Hi, hello, and welcome to yet another Expat. This is episode 85, recording on a Sunday, 15th of February 2026. Now, something strange has happened today in Berlin. The sun is out, and I I know it's cliche, I know it's a stereotypical thing to say, but I had literally forgotten how it is to see sunlight spread across the spaces in our apartment, in the streets, in the trees. I cannot believe that I fall in the same trap every winter. January and February are some of the worst months to be in Berlin. Like they are depressing. They are. And yes, the snow was nice, but we have forgotten how the sun looks like. And we all realize it as soon as we get a rare glimpse of how the world and the city and the surroundings look like when the sunlight can actually reach. So this is the reality of today. It's still -1, but the sunlight is gently caressing everything. And in danger of sounding like your grandma, please take vitamin D if you live in the central North Europe. I think it makes a huge difference. I didn't take mine for a couple of months this year, and the deficiency is real. As we've said, Berlin is incapable of producing vitamin D for the biggest part of the year because of how the sun rays hit this piece of land. So don't overlook it. It's a real thing. You can get very cheap vitamin D as a film tablet that melts in your tongue from the M. And I had a really good doctor some years ago who insisted vitamin D is much better absorbed through a film tablet than just a pill. So I hope you're doing well. I hope you're getting the sunshine, and I hope you are absolutely taking your vitamin D. Now, I don't know how many platforms you're using to stream, watch movies, if you're pirating or not, but here's a little update from the insignificant life of mine. I've been having Netflix forever. I made it when the first comedy specials were coming out, more than maybe around a decade ago or something like that. And I decided for the first time to expand because I'm very dissatisfied from the movies and series, and overall I just felt, why did I never try any other platform? So I've joined HBO Max. And I did that originally because it has one movie I want to see, one battle after another. I didn't manage to see it in the cinema, so that was the initiator. But then a lot of good stuff is on HBO Max, and the Winter Olympics is on HBO Max, so we saw a little bit of that. And I'm also considering giving some of my very little time to see The Sopranos, because I've never had, and they're also on HBO Max. Now here's where the good stuff ends, because now I will complain. In case you didn't know, they have a pricing tier that starts around at €6. And I thought, okay, I'm already paying Netflix, which is something between 12 to 15 euros a month. I don't even remember. I have my personal leeches that watch, aka my siblings, who would be offended if they listen to this podcast, but they don't, and a bunch of other people. So I thought, okay, HBO Max, I'm gonna go with the $5.99 with the €6 thing. It sounds good. Up to 2 devices, HD, I don't need 4K. What I didn't realize is that this paying, I'm already a paying user, you still get advertisements. I have never experienced something like that. So I'm using the service, I'm putting a series to watch on HBO Max, and then I need to watch through multiple commercials. 2 commercials of other shows in the beginning, no skip button, nothing. And then as I'm watching the episode, out of nowhere, I will just get advertisements. Let's say it's an hour episode, 20 minutes in, I'll get an ad. And I will be so annoyed, but before I can feel my full annoyance, it will switch back to the series. It's a small advertisement. It's just enough to make me angry, but not angry enough to stop watching. And then, close to the end of the episode, they throw 2 more commercials. And I have to say, I'm angry. I'm angry for paying for a service. And usually when you pay, you get rid of the ads. This is how the system has worked so far. You get the ads, you don't want the ads, you can pay, and then we respect you. You are a respected user. Well, on HBO, if you're paying on the first pricing tier, you are not a respected user. You need to make the rest of the money for them through your attention, through your time. And they also don't fit the vibe. If you're watching a specific type of film and then a commercial jumps, it's like an insult to your attention span. And I'm not a normal person. I don't watch a series and have my hands on my lap. I have two screens. So sometimes I'm doing one thing while I watch a series. I know it's problematic, but this is how I've chosen to live my life. So now imagine I'm doing one thing, like playing a casual game and having a series to accompany on the other screen. And all of a sudden, I get this crazy advertisement which has different music and a different tone, and it's jumping left and right because an ad is desperately trying to get your attention. It's not there to be background music in the elevator. No, it needs your attention. Yeah, in a way, I feel violated. Okay, this is what I wanted to say. And HBO, the audacity of making me sit through so many commercials, even though I'm a paying customer, feels absurd. And what will they do? They will force me to pay the rest of the money to go to the next tier that I don't know where it is, like 12 euros, 13, 14, to have self-respect. Because at the end of the day, this is how I feel. It is like, I feel that the sense of self-respect I have is being destroyed by this option to endure all these disruptions, trying to treat myself. I'm not a teenager. When I was a teenager, I could watch things the entire day. Do you know how much it takes for me now to be able to put 40 minutes down of like personal time and be able to use that in a way for myself? That's a luxury these days, and this is why I try to game a little bit and watch something. I'm multitasking to get as much as I can. So yes, it does feel like a violation. You give them €6 a month from your wallet, and then they need to make ad revenue on top of that from you. Because the pricing you have is not enough for how much money they want to be making. So maybe if there was a lower one, I would get even more ads. Like maybe this is slowly, instead of having a service with ads and no ads, maybe they will introduce even more segment tiers, And then you can have a slider. You can say, how much are you willing to pay to completely eradicate the ads? Yes, it's tough. And at least on YouTube, you can skip them. But the ones on HBO Max, they don't care. They're like, you've paid too little money and we get to do this to you. It doesn't even tell you how long it lasts. There is no timer or buffer or loader. There is nothing visually that indicates how long you've been watching that commercial and how long it will take to finish. I feel trapped. I feel like Clockwork Orange. They've just put my eyes there and I'm forced to see this thing. But I'll relax. I'll rub my earlobes. I'll take a few deep breaths and I will continue. And I'll tell you that I did start watching The Sopranos. I've watched 2 episodes. And here's one thing I realized. These days, we have our phones all the time on us, devices, smart stuff. If you want to meet with someone, you will arrange it multiple times and you can check in and where are you, send me your location, what's your ETA, I'll message you when I'm close and all of that. If you roll back a few years, you only had the phone. So you could phone someone and say, I'll come by your place. Now, imagine that you live in a time where if anyone wants to see you or talk to you, they would just knock your door. Like, no heads up, no mobiles, no phones. They just showed up. That was their reality. Imagine all the people you know, your relatives, siblings, family, close friends, less close friends. Imagine, quote, back in the day, unquote, but this is not so long ago. For the entirety of history before that, people would just show up. Can you imagine this today? That, you're there and you could be anywhere. You could be in the bathroom, you could be cooking, you could be trying to sleep the baby. It doesn't matter. And someone rings your bell. You don't have time to clean up the house. You don't have time to get mentally ready. You don't have time. None of that. It's just raw. And I don't know, I found it an entertaining and terrifying thought. That was their reality. Okay, I've started with random thoughts. I know that. And guess what? There's more. In this episode, I'm not going into global politics, the state of the world, the constant bombardment of tragedy and fear and AI and all of the horrible things of the networks of powerful people doing horrible things and all that. No, no, no. We put it aside. And I'll do that by saying I want to congratulate an object in this house I'm in. I want to congratulate my toothbrush. Okay? I would say if someone can take as much as I can, it is this toothbrush. What I mean by that is I have an electric toothbrush, one that I bought. By the way, just to complain, this electric toothbrush I have, it is from Philips. It was advertised as having a 3D mapping of your mouth, and then it can tell you your analytics, how often you brush, how many seconds, and your habits, and all of that. And it turned out that in order to access these analytics, you need, hold your horses, you need to download their app and subscribe to it. So it's one of these examples where the toothbrush has the technology, but part of it is locked in an app. And to have the app, you need a subscription. And this is life now. It's subscription on everything. From using a toothbrush to listening to music to watching a movie to having Windows to using any sort of online tool or software. It's all subscriptions. You own nothing. But back to the congratulations. I want to congratulate my toothbrush because it notifies you when it's running out of battery. And I am very lazy. So every time I'm brushing my teeth and at the end of it, it makes a buzz. And this buzz means, hey, you need to charge me. But the charger is in the living room. Now, a normal person would say, oh, the toothbrush did the vibration. It needs to be charged. Let me charge it. But not me. I'm thinking, oh, I'm almost done with the day. This is a problem for tomorrow. I'll let morning Hermes do it. Then the next day comes and I brush my teeth again. And then I'm thinking, oh, now it's gonna, maybe it dies out. And then I haven't charged it. But no, this toothbrush keeps on giving. As a matter of fact, I spent almost an entire week of every day the poor toothbrush vibrating, beep, saying I don't have any battery, please charge me. And every single day I did not do it, thinking when is going to be the next time I try and it's just not gonna work. Now imagine this from the side of the toothbrush. It's like, hey, I'm telling you, I need to recharge. Dude, I'm running out of juice. And I'm just constantly like, no, I'll squeeze you more. You need to work more. And the toothbrush like, okay, I'll push my last bits of energy, but next time, please charge me. And then the next time, I'm like, no, try again. And the toothbrush again gives its best and says, okay, we did it one more time, but please charge me. And it's not that it's suffering in secrecy. You know, some people, when they get decharged, when they are spending more than they have, they suffer in secrecy. They don't say it. They don't show the signs. And then they get burned out and they need to go to a therapist or whatever. This toothbrush tries. She is straight up. She's saying, hey, dude, I need energy. And I don't give it to her, and she still pulls through every single time. I don't know how long this low battery state lasts, but I'm so impressed by how long it lasts. The people who designed it were thinking of procrastinating people like me so well. And even though I know it's my fault of not charging it many days while it's complaining, I would still be annoyed by the toothbrush if it stopped on giving. So I appreciate the electric toothbrush makers having very little confidence in our ability as users to charge our toothbrushes in the right time. The same thing when you get the light for the gas when you're driving. You may even have 100 kilometers. Now, in this next segment, I want to talk about my visit to a Berlinale film. Berlinale is the film festival that happens every year in Berlin. A lot of big movies premiere there. And I got tickets as a gift for a premiere to go see a Finnish horror movie. Now, I want to say two things. One, the Berlinale experience, and then the movie experience. So first up, going to a Berlinale premiere, that was fun. There is red carpet happening. I had to, I have a pair of shoes that I keep clean and I never wear. Just exists to look nice and never gets out of the closet. And every other shoe I use is just, I don't know, beaten up. But I put on my good shoes and I put on a suit, a jacket, the top part of a suit. I don't even know how to talk clothes. But I went there, and the good thing is that this movie was not like the blockbuster movie everyone was waiting for. It was still an anticipated movie, but it wasn't the main event, which means that logistics-wise, it was a lot easier to be there, not too many people, and we had the stars arriving in the red carpet, doing their walk and all of this, and I could see it, because if you have tickets for a movie premiere, you're actually walking on an aisle right next to the red carpet. There is a railing, of course, but there is a whole other side for the general audience that gathers to see the stars and all of this, which is much more crowded and you cannot be in the front. But if you have a movie premiere tickets, you get to walk basically on the one row next to the red carpet. So you can just stay there and look around and some security people tell you keep moving, but they don't really care. So this was nice red carpet experience. Also, it was not everything looks so impressive when you see it from the cameras, when you see the shots, when you see it on, I don't know, Instagram or YouTube or all of that. But if you're there in person, it's not as big as it feels like. Okay, yes, it's a crowded place with good lights and the red carpet, but I don't know, 20 meters away, it's still the normal city. Like, it's not that it's flooding with people. So that was good. Lovely theater. Nice to see people dressed up. And yeah, it felt like an experience. Now, the movie we saw, I won't spend too much time, but again, my girlfriend got me the tickets. She wanted to find tickets for another premiere, the movie that Filippo is doing, the co-writer of George Lanthimos, a very anticipated movie, but it was sold out in milliseconds. So the one she did get for was a horror movie. Now, I haven't seen horror movies since I was a teenager, and it was a body horror type. Now, this is a weird genre that I didn't know much about, but I knew there's going to be blood and that it's going to be scary or horror or a thriller. I don't even know the distinctions between these words, but I knew I'm going to see something hardcore, okay? The movie is called Nightborn in English. It's a Finnish movie, and apparently Finland has some pretty weird shit going on in their cinema anyways. And I am uneducated. I have never seen Finnish cinema before, but let me tell you, this movie was very disturbing. It was such a disturbing movie. Some people left while it was playing. There was so much blood around and so many scenes that were just, I don't know how to say it. It's not disgusting. It's not that they were gore, like too much graphic, too much like visual violence or extremity, but somehow it was the disturbing is the best word I can use, and funny at times. It's a movie that Ron Weasley stars, the actor that played Ron Weasley from Harry Potter. So he was the big name of the night. He was the one, when he walked through the red carpet, everyone was cheering and needed an autograph and all of this. And I think he's had a rough couple of years, and this is something that shows a little bit in his physique and in his face, but he was lovely. He was smiling a lot, and he took so much time with the fans, and he honestly looked like a nice guy. He did feel slightly uncomfortable, I believe. And in the movie, he plays the awkward husband. This movie is about motherhood, and this couple goes in the woods to have their child, and then the child is kind of like the devil or a monster, and they are freaking out, and then the mom is freaking out much more, and he's the third wheel. I will spare you the details. It reminded me a lot of Rosemary's Baby and these types of movies with fucked up babies, and it was very disturbing. I'm not a critic. I don't know Finnish cinema very well, Ron Weasley, he was just trying to cope with the situation in the film. And I think acting-wise, both him and the woman played well, but the whole film felt way too bizarre and disturbing, and logic doesn't, like, things cannot be fully explained, and you can understand the themes that are being played around, but it's not that there is any specific conceptual journey we go through, or I don't know. I had a hard time having a complete experience. So much blood, and the themes around motherhood were the dynamics of how the mother feels with the child, and in the beginning referring to it as an it instead of the gender because you feel it's this thing, and there is this alienation. So it took that to an extreme, and being a body horror, it focused a lot on the body. So from breastfeeding scenes to all sorts of intimate moments between a mother and a child. I don't even know what else to say. I will say, if you can get tickets for any premiere in Berlinale, do it, especially if it's the Central Cinema de Palace that plays this, because the red carpet experience was super fun. You get to have pre-drinks, you get to see the fancy people. So I loved that experience. Now, about the movie itself, Nightborn, I would give it a 6 out of 10 on IMDb, and I would be very surprised if it gets anything more than a 7 on IMDb. But I'll be watching. Actually, let me just look. Yeah, okay, it has a 6.6 on IMDb. So there it is. I think it's a fair score. And perhaps being one of the first people, I could write a review about it. But as you see, the depth in which I can go is not that impressive. Now, the last thing I will say about this is I remember some years ago, Aronofsky, which I really like. I've seen most of his things when I was much younger, so grain of salt there, but I really like him. Do you remember when the film Mother came out? Has any of you people seen Mother by Aronofsky? But it was a time where entire cinemas would just walk out when the movie was playing. It was undoubtedly so disturbing for the general audiences that it was a thing. It was criticized a lot, and it was just this whole debate about it online, people hating it. I remember I saw the movie in the theater, and it was extremely disturbing. That's why I compare these two experiences. But with the Mother of Aronofsky, the disturbance was to such an extent that I remember feeling almost impressed by how disturbing he managed to make the movie be in a build-up way. So the movie was slowly building up. Things were getting incrementally more strange, incrementally more weird, incrementally more disturbing. And that piling up, that building kept on going and going and going. And by the time that someone could reach, and you knew that it's going to get worse. This is why some people were walking out. I think they could understand the way the movie was being built. By the end of the movie, I remember feeling this surreal crescendo of everything happening everywhere all at once. It was almost divine how things were coming together. It had a lot of divine elements as well. But I remember thinking, wow, this movie was so disturbing. Why would anyone make something like this? But I appreciated the way it was architectured. This didn't happen in Nightborn, the movie I saw yesterday. It was just normal, disturbing, very graphic pictures. And for people who watch Finnish cinema, they say, yeah, this is kind of how they do things over there. So I don't know what else to say. The next thing I want to bring you is weather related. There's going to be a very cold February. This is basically it. Why? Because there is an interesting event happening that will unleash masses of brutal Arctic cold across Europe and North America. Now, what's going on? There is in the Arctic, the north, there is a polar vortex. Typically, there is this powerful ring of winds. It's very strong, freezing winds that are happening in the pole. It's called the polar vortex. And it almost acts like a containment system. It's a trap freezing air that is trapped at the pole, and it is just vortexing around and around and around. However, something bizarre is going to happen in February. The current high-resolution models are indicating that this vortex will break and it will spill across. Basically, there is a warming of the stratosphere happening very quickly that is going to cut through the middle of this ice vortex at the top. So basically, this surge of heat will deform the vortex. It will be splitting it into two and breaking this seal that keeps the coldest air on Earth locked away. So when the polar vortex collapses, the trapped Arctic air will escape and spill southward, setting the stage for significant cold snaps across the eastern United States and much of Europe. So there is some time to hang in there before it gets better, if you are central north. If not, enjoy better weather and higher life expectancy in likely worse social systems. Somehow, this is what seems to be the trade-off. And with this, I will let you go. The last thought comes a little bit on the no internet, no phones times where everyone was knocking your door if they wanted something. Call it nostalgia bait, but wasn't it kind of nice when the internet started? Was a single, solitary, unmoving place. You had a computer somewhere in the house, and that computer could access the internet. And in that time, the internet was this single, unmoving place. You had to go to a specific spot to go to the internet. And when you left the spot, you left the internet. The internet was a place in the house. You would go there, and then you would leave. Instead of today the internet is this terror that extends to everywhere. And sometimes I miss that time. The internet was a window to the world where no one knew anything about anyone, and you could just innocently explore. And right now it feels that the internet is everything. And what you need is to escape that. So the escapism of the 2000s to the internet is now making a 180 degrees turn, because now the escapism is to shut down the internet. But anyway, thoughts, cutting it here. Thank you so much for listening for another week. I'll be doing these episodes for as long as I can. They give me a place to place my thoughts, and I appreciate all the ears that welcome them. If you enjoy this podcast, consider rating it on Spotify. I have 20 reviews. Let's make them 21. You can do it. It's on you, you single person still being here. Click rate the show and make it a 21. And I'll have a surprise for you in the next podcast. Here's, I'm giving the bait. For all of you, wish you have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Until then, ciao.